You ever have one of those mornings where you walk into the shop, the sun is hitting the floorboards just right, and before you even flip a switch, you think, today, today I am a god of industry.
Haha, usually about 5 minutes before you realize you left the glue cap off last night, and now you have a permanent mahogany-colored stalagmite on your assembly table.
Low blow, Alex. Accurate, but low. But seriously, it's Thursday, January 29th, 2026. Welcome back to the TigerDen.
Happy Thursday. I see you've traded the wood shavings for metal filings this morning. You're looking very industrial.
I've been reading the 2026 industry forecasts, and Alex, the metalworking world is moving fast. We're talking the future is now stuff. And if you aren't paying attention, you're going to be left standing there with a hacksaw while the rest of the world is playing with lasers.
Okay, slow down, Tony Stark. I saw the blog post. You're excited about press brakes? Really? That sounds like something I'd use to keep my pants crisp, not a tech revolution.
Here's the thing, nobody tells you about a press brake. It is the difference between a project looking like a DIY weekend special and looking like something that rolled out of a factory in Stuttgart. The surveys are saying over 70% of fabricators are upgrading their press brakes this year. But here's the kicker for our listeners. It's not just the big industrial plants, they're shrinking. We're seeing desktop-sized CNC-controlled brakes that can handle 10-gauge steel with repeatable accuracy.
Wait, hold on. CNC press brakes for a garage. Why does a hobbyist need that level of repeatability? If I'm making one bracket for a motorcycle, I'm making one bracket.
Ask me how I know that you don't just make one bracket.
Because you mess up the first three.
Exactly. You spend 4 hours trying to get a perfect 90-degree bend with a hammer and a torch, and it looks like a piece of chewed gum. With these new compact CNC units, you program the angle, you compensate for the spring back, which the machine calculates for you, and clunk. Perfect. Every time. It's taking the black magic out of fabrication and replacing it with math.
I feel like you're trying to take the soul out of the craft, Tiger. Where's the sweat? Where's the cursing at a protractor?
The cursing is still there, trust me. It just moves from the anvil to the touchscreen.
Okay, so heavy metal bending is getting smarter. What about the hot stuff? You mentioned 66% of shops are refreshing their welding gear. Are we finally getting the autocorrect for welding? Because my beads still look like a pigeon had a digestive crisis on some angle iron.
That is exactly what's happening. We're seeing a massive shift in GMRW. That's gas metal arc welding, or MIG for the laypeople. The 2026 lineup of smart welders is insane. They have these synergic settings now where you just tell the machine, hey, I'm welding 1/4-inch aluminum, and it handles the wire speed, the voltage, the pulsing. It even compensates if your hand speed is a little shaky.
So you're saying I could actually produce a professional grade weld without spending 10 years in an apprentice program?
It helps keep the ego in check, doesn't it? But here's the reality. These tools aren't replacing the skill. They're lowering the barrier to entry. It's like going from a manual typewriter to a word processor. You still have to write the book, but the tools aren't fighting you anymore.
I'm skeptical. Every time you get a smart tool, it's just one more thing that breaks. What happens when your welder needs a firmware update right when you're in the middle of a frame repair?
You're not wrong. I had a smart circular saw last year that tried to sync with my toaster. It was a whole thing. But for the serious fabricator, the consistency these new GMRW machines provide is a game changer. It's about future proofing. If you're buying a welder in 2026 and it doesn't have an adaptive arc, you're basically buying a VCR in the age of Netflix.
Speaking of the future, you mentioned 3D metal printing. Are we really there? I thought that was for like SpaceX and people with six-figure budgets.
It was, but the line is blurring. Metal additive manufacturing is moving into the prosumer space. We're seeing machines that use a metal-infused filament that you then sinter in a kiln.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me I can print a wrench?
You can print a wrench that has internal cooling channels or a geometry that would be impossible to machine.
Okay, but what about the strength? Is it actually functional or is it just metal-colored plastic?
It's functional. Once it's sintered, it's 98% the density of solid steel. Here's the thing. Nobody tells you about 3D printing metal though. The printing part is easy. The post-processing, the sanding, the polishing, the heat treatment, that's where the real work is. You're still a metal worker. You just started your project with a nozzle instead of a furnace.
It sounds like the shop of 2026 is becoming less about banging on things with hammers and more about curating a fleet of robots.
Maybe. But the fundamentals never change. You still need to know why the metal reacts the way it does. You can have $1 million CNC machine, but if you don't understand grain structure or heat affected zones, you're just making expensive scrap metal.
Which brings us to your practical tips for the day. You mentioned something called the rule of three. Is this another one of those things you learned the hard way?
Most of my rules are written in blood or lost deposit money, Alex.
Refreshing honesty. Let's hear it.
The rule of three in metalworking. Before you strike an arc or pull a trigger, you check three things. Your measurements, because metal doesn't grow back like wood does. Your square, because a 1 degree error at the base is a 3-inch gap at the top. And your safety gear.
The safety gear check seems obvious.
You'd think so. Ask me how I know what happens when you weld in a t-shirt because it's just a quick tack weld.
I'm guessing instant sunburn and a lesson in humility.
And a very concerned doctor. Metalworking is less forgiving than woodworking. A wood splinter is a nuisance. A metal sliver is a surgical event, which is why the second tip is keep it clean. With this new high-tech gear, the 3D printers, the CNC brakes, dust is the enemy. In the old days, a dirty shop was a sign of a busy shop. In 2026, a dirty shop is a sign of a shop that's about to have a $5,000 repair bill. Those sensors don't like grit.
So you're telling the tough metal workers they need to start using a Swiffer?
I prefer a high-grade HEPA vacuum. But if a Swiffer gets the job done, Alex, you Swiffer away. Precision requires a pristine environment. You can't do 2026 level work in a 1920s level mess.
I think that's the underlying theme here, isn't it? The tools are getting smarter, but they demand more from us. More cleanliness, more prep, more, dare I say, discipline?
Haha. Don't use the D word. You'll scare off the hobbyists. But you're right. It's an exciting time. I think about my grandfather's shop, a forge, a heavy anvil, and a lot of muscle. Now I can design a part on my tablet while I'm eating breakfast and have a robot bend it to within 1/1000th of an inch by lunch.
And yet, I bet you still have a favorite hammer that you've had for 20 years.
This is the most important tool in the shop. Because sometimes the CNC gets it wrong and the smart welder loses its mind, and you just need to remind the metal who's actually in charge.
There's the tiger we know.
Look, here's the takeaway for today, guys. The tech is coming, whether you're ready or not. Embrace the precision. Buy the smart tools if they make your life better. But never let the machine do the thinking for you. The soul of the craft isn't in the tool. It's in the person holding it or the person programming it.
Well said. Now, are you going to go clean up that mahogany stalagmite, or am I going to have to do it?
I'll get to it. Right after I check my measurements. 3 times.
Haha. Catch you guys tomorrow.
Stay gritty, friends.